Hello and welcome to today's lecture of Object-Oriented Programming using Java with the paper code CS504A. Myself Shayani Chandra, Assistant Professor of Department of Computer Science and Engineering of Guru Nanak Institute of Technology. So let's move on to today's lecture contents. Today we will be learning how to write a very simple Java program, how the program can be compiled and what happens at the runtime. And lastly, we will learn how to set path in Java. To create a simple Java program, you need to create a class that contains the main method. There are certain requirements in order to write a Java program. The requirements are you have to install the software JDK, that is Java Development Kit, JDK. If you haven't installed it yet, you have to download it from the internet and install it. JDK is an open source software which is freely available on the internet. You can easily download it and install it. There are many softwares also which can be used to write and compile and interpret a Java program. But here in our course, we will be using the JDK software only. After downloading and installing the JDK software, we have to set the path of the JDK bin directory. After setting the path, we have to write down the first Java program, then we have to compile it, and then we have to run it in order to see the output. So let's first understand how to write a simple Java program and what each of the terms of this program mean. Here we can see that the keyword that is used to write a class is class. Here we can see the keyword class and the class name is simple. That means in order to write a class, we have to use the class keyword, and after that with a space we have to write the class name. Class name can be anything as per our choice. If we are using a user defined class, then we can give any class name of our choice. So let's see how a general class structure looks like. Normally, a class syntax is like this: class space class name. We can give any name of our choice if we are using a user defined class like this, like the one we have shown in the example. And then we have to write down the body of the class here, and then close the brace. The opening and closing brace indicates that whatever we write inside this will be inside the class. So this is mainly the class block. We have already learned what is a block in C and C++ languages. So opening and closing brace indicates that this is a class block and whatever we write inside will be within the class. So this is how we declare a class normally in a Java program. A user defined class declaration is in Java program looks like this. Now, for an example that we have done in the program, we have declared a class named simple like this in our program. So simple is the class name. This is the class name. And in order to define this class, we have used the class keyword. So the same syntax is written here. And once we open the brace, then inside it, whatever we write will be inside the class body. So let's go back to the slide. Inside the brace, we have written public static void main. Now main is a function that you have already learned in C and C++ languages. Without main function, you cannot write any program in C and C++ languages. In case of Java also, the concept is more or less same. You have to use the main function in order to write a Java program. But obviously exceptions are there that we will discuss later in this course. So whatever we call function in C or C++ languages, we call them as methods in Java. So basically the concept of function and methods are same in all the languages. C++ functions are same as Java methods. In fact, the syntax is also same. So we will learn in detail how to write methods, how to write user defined methods in later lectures. So here we are using the main method in order to write down the whole program. Without main method, we cannot write anything in Java. Main method has to be used. If you don't write the main method, the program cannot run. But here you can see that along with the main method, some other keywords are also used before the main method. Public, static, void are three keywords that are used before the main method syntax. And after the main method, within parentheses, we have written string args and we have given an array sign. Now let us understand each of these keywords one by one. So the syntax written there is public static void main. I'm writing this portion after some time. So what is this public stands for? Public is nothing but an access specifier in Java. Or it is also sometimes called access modifier. And the function of access specifier is to give you how to access something. The access specifiers can be placed before a variable, before a method, or before a class. If you place an access specifier before a variable or before a method or before a class, then it will indicate how that variable or method or class can be accessed, from where you can access those things. So it will actually give you the visibility of the variables or methods or classes before which you are using the access specifiers. So public access specifier means that you can use this main method from anywhere. You can access this main method from anywhere, from any programs. Now, what other access specifiers can do, that we will describe in some other lectures. So as of now, you just know that public access specifier will give you the widespread access. That means if you place public before this main method, that means main method can be accessed from anywhere in the Java package, from anywhere, from any program of the Java package. Now, why do we making main as public? Why do we want that main should be accessed from anywhere? Obviously, there is a reason. The reason is that we all know that a program's execution starts from main. So whenever a program wants to execute, then main method should have access to it. So if a program doesn't have any access to the main method, then the program cannot start executing. Now, if you make main public, then only all the programs that will start by executing the main method can run. Now, if you make main not, if you don't make main public, then the programs that will start executing when main will execute cannot run. That means you have to make main public so that all the programs that will start executing by executing main method should can execute. So main method must be made public in order to make the program executable. And all the other programs or all the other classes or anything else which depends on the execution of the main method cannot execute until and unless you have made main public. As I have already told that public means the access, it is an access specifier which will give the widespread access of the main method to all. To all means to all the programs that are there inside the Java package, the whole Java package. So if you don't make main public, it may happen that some other programs which are accessing the main method cannot run just because main is not made public. Because because main is not made public, so they are unable to access main. That's why they cannot execute. Or some other classes which will execute only when main will execute cannot access main just because main has not been made public. So in order to run those classes or those program, you have to make main public so that they can have access to the main method easily. Now there are a total of 4 access specifiers in Java. One that I have already discussed in this program, that is public. The other 3 are private, default, and protected. Now all these 4 access specifiers can be used before a variable or before a method or before a class. Now what happens when these access specifiers are used before a class or a variable or method, that we will discuss in some other lectures when we will be discussing access specifier in detail. As of now, you just know that public access specifier must be used before main method for the reasons that I have just described. The next keyword that has been used before main method is static. Now let us learn what static keyword actually does. Static is a keyword in Java. If we declare any method as static, it is known as static method. The core advantage of using this static method is that there is no need to create an object to invoke the static method. The main method is executed by the JVM, so it doesn't require to create an object to invoke the main method. So it saves memory. That means static keyword will allow you to call anything without creating any object. Now I have already told that everything in Java can be treated as an object. Literally everything can be treated as an object. That I have already told in my previous lectures. Now, in order to access main, it is a method. It should be accessed by using object. Without using object, you cannot access anything in Java. So main is a method. So if you want to use or if you want to access main method, then you have to use an object in order to use this main method. But main is a method from where the execution of the program starts. So the execution of the program means that JVM comes into picture. We know that execution or interpretation of the program is done by JVM or Java Virtual Machine. So whenever JVM wants to execute the program, JVM needs to have access to the main method. But if static keyword is not used before main method, that means JVM needs to create an object of the main method. And whenever an object of the main method is created, some memory space will be occupied because object creation always occupies some memory. So in this case, it will be tedious for JVM to create some object as it will acquire some memory. Same will be the case for other classes also, which will have access to the main method. If some other classes are there in this program which should have access to the main method, then in order to access this main method from those classes, we also have to create the object of this main method in all those classes. Suppose in our program there are 5 classes. Among them, one class is a main class. So apart from that main class means the class in which the main method is there. So apart from that main class, there are 4 other classes in the program. So those 4 other classes should have access to the main method in order to execute. But if we don't write static before the main method, all those 4 classes have to create main method object. The object so as to access the main method. And in order to create all those 4 objects, obviously for each object some memory space will be occupied. Moreover, when JVM will interpret or execute the program, JVM should have access to the main method. And as main is not declared static, then JVM also has to create an object in order to access the main method. So that will also acquire some spaces in memory. That means the space complexity of the program will be increased. But if we place static before the main method, we don't need to create any object of the main method. Static keyword ensures that it can be placed before a variable or before a class or before a method, just like the access specifiers we have just described. So if we place static before a class or before a variable or before a method, then the same can be accessed without creating any object. So if main should have access from main should have access to all the classes and JVM so as to execute the program. That's why we have made main static, so that no need to create any object of the main method in order to access it. If we don't need to create any object of the main method in order to access it, we can easily save some memory space and we can easily decrease the space complexity of the program. That's why static keyword is used before main. Now we will describe the static keyword in detail in some other lectures when we will be explaining how static keyword can be placed before a variable, before a method, or before a class. Now moving on to the next keyword, which is void. Now void keyword you have already learned in C and C++ languages. Void is the return type of the main method. Void means that the main method will not return anything. You have learned different implementations and different syntax of main method in C language. Like main method in C language can also have int return type. In that case, the main method will return some integer value. In fact, in C language, you can also write main method without using any return type. In that case also, by default, main method will return some integer value. But in case of Java, you have to write the keyword void before main. You cannot write any other keyword before main. Because in case of Java, main doesn't return anything. That's why you have to write the void keyword before main, always. You cannot write any other return type before main in Java. You have to write it void here. So the syntax public static void main is explained now. Now let's move on to this part of the program. For that, let's go back to the slide. So the string args part, I'll discuss it later because it deals with command line argument. So when I'll be explaining command line argument, I'll discuss it. That means I'll discuss the string args part in the command line argument chapter. As of now, you just keep in mind that the string is a class. In Java, the string class is used to create string objects. You have already learned string in C language and C++ language. So in case of C language and C++ language, you have learned that strings are character arrays with a null value after it. But in case of Java, character arrays are simply character arrays which can store only characters, and strings are a different thing which can be created using the string class. And obviously, as we know that everything in Java can be treated as an object, so obviously a user defined string is also treated as an object. Now if we instantiate the string class, then the objects that will be created from this string class will all be treated as strings or user defined strings that can be manipulated. So in case of Java language, there is a certain difference between character array and string. Character arrays are arrays which can store only characters in case of Java, and strings are particularly used as an object which can be generated by instantiating the string class in case of Java. So obviously there is a very sharp difference between the string in C language and string in Java language. Character arrays are not strings in case of Java. Character arrays are only arrays which can only store characters. But in case of Java, strings are also treated as objects. User-defined strings are also treated as objects, which can be generated or created by instantiating the string class. This string class is that class which is used to create user-defined string objects. Now, after this ARGS has been used. ARGS stands for arguments. This is an array. As we can see that an array sign is there. The syntax of array differs from the syntax of array in Java obviously differs from the syntax of array in C language, but the concept here is more or less same as in C language. Here also we use brackets to indicate that it is an array. That means this args is an array because an opening and closing brackets are used after this. So we can say that this args is an array of string type objects. This args is an array of string type objects. Now why this args array is called an array of string type objects, that we will discuss in the command line argument chapter. When we will discuss command line argument, then we will discuss it in detail. So as of now, I just gave you some idea about the string class and this array. Now let's move on to the next part. System.out.println hello Java. Now you have already learned in C language how to print something on screen, how to produce the output on screen. We have used printf function for that in case of C language, but the same thing, in order to do the same thing in case of Java language, we will be using system.out.println hello Java. Now let's learn what are the things in these statements one by one. So let me write down the statement once again here. System dot out dot println hello Java. Now this system, it is a class. Here this system class is used in order to display or produce the output on screen. In this statement, the use of system class is to produce or generate or to show the output on screen. In this one, this out, this is a dot, this out, this is an object. This is an object of print stream class. Now, what is the function of this out object? This is an object of the print stream class. This object will actually be used to show the output on screen. There are three objects of the print stream class: in, out, and ERR. This in is actually used as standard input. This out is actually used as standard output, and this ERR is actually used for standard error. Now we know that standard input means that taking some input from the console. Standard output means that giving some output to the console, and standard ERR means that it will display some error message. So these things you all are familiar with because you have already learned these things in C language. This out object is this one. So this one will work as standard out. That means it will give you the output to the console. It will bring the output to the console so that the output can be displayed on the monitor or on the screen. This out is an object of the print stream class, and this out object along with the system class is used to produce the output and to give it on screen or on the monitor so that user can see it. And this print is a method. The method name is print. And ln has some other functions that I am discussing after some time. This print method will work exactly same as the printf method in C language. In C language, you have already learned printf method, printf function, which will just display something on screen. That means whatever you write in between these double quotes will be shown on screen using the printf function. Similarly, whatever you write inside this double quotes will be shown on screen using this print function or method, better to say. So this print functions, this print methods function is to show the output or show the statements that have been written within these double quotes. In case of C language also, you have written the things inside the double quotes within parenthesis after printf function. Here also we will write the statements inside the double quotes within parenthesis after this print method. And this semicolon marks the termination of the statement. If you want to terminate a statement, you have used semicolon in C language. In the same way, you will use the semicolon in Java language also. Now let's come to the ln. What ln will actually do, ln stands for new line. Now you have already learned escape sequence in case of C language. All the escape sequences are valid in Java language also. You can use all the escape sequences that you have used in C language in Java language also. You have used this escape sequence for giving new line in C language. You can also use this escape sequence to give new line in Java language. But ln can also be used to give new line in case of Java language. But this ln was not there in C language. Obviously, there is a difference between this /n and ln in case of Java language. Let's see what are the differences. So let me complete this statement. Suppose we have not written ln here because ln is not mandatory. The method name is print, not print ln. Suppose we have written this. This means that at first a new line will be shown on screen, and after that in the next line this hello Java output will be shown. That means this will be a new line, and after that in the next line hello Java will be shown. If you write this, and if we write this, hello Java will be shown in the first line. Then after that in the new line, the cursor will go and there the cursor will blink. So this is the difference between /n and ln. In case of /n, if you give /n here and if you don't give ln here, hello Java will be displayed after the new line. In the new line, a new line will be escaped because it is called escape sequence. So the first line will be escaped and the hello Java will be printed in the new line. But ln means it is not an escape sequence, so nothing will be escaped. Hello Java will be written on the first line and then the cursor will move to the next line and there it will blink. That means if you write this /n here after this hello Java, if you don't write it here, it will work in the same way as this will do. So if you write ln here, then also it will give you this output, and if you give /n after this hello Java statement, then also it will give you the same output. So if you write ln here or if you write /n after this hello Java, both will give you this output. But if you write /n here, if you don't write it here, then this will be the output. So this is the main difference between /n and ln. If you want to put /n or if you want to use any other escape sequences, you can easily use it like C language in Java language also. Or if you want to use ln for new line, then also you can use it. But remember that ln can only be used in conjunction with the print method. So now this main method brace has ended and here the class brace has ended. So this completes a simple program that will give you hello Java as output. Now let's see how to save this file. To save this file, you have to give the name simple. Why? Because main is the method that has been there inside the simple class. That's why we are naming the file in the name of the main class. You can also give some other name to a Java program, but how to do it, and in that case how to compile the Java program and how to execute the Java program, that will be different, that I'll show you later. As of now, you just know that in order to save a Java program, you are going to give the main method name, main class name to the file name. That means the file name of any program will be your main class name. Obviously, you can give some other name also that I'm going to discuss later, that I already told. But here, as of now, I am giving the main class name as the file name, and obviously the extension is .java. Like you have learned that the extension of C programs or C++ programs are .c and .cpp respectively. Here in Java language, the extension is .java. Now in order to compile, you have to write this piece of code, that is Java C, which is the compiler of the Java program, space filename.java with extension. You have to write down the full file name, and if any errors are there, then it will show you here just after the compilation, and if no errors are there, then it will be directly go to the execution step. There you can write down this statement, that is Java space only the file name without the extension. So let's see how to how to write the program, where to write the program, and how to compile and execute it. So here I have opened a notepad file and I have already written this program here. In case of Java program, if you are using the JDK software, you have to write down the program in the notepad file. So I have written the program in the notepad, or you can also use any other editor that can also be used. So I have this simple editor that is provided with Windows, which is Notepad. So I have written this program here and I have saved it, as you can see, using the name simple.java. As I just told that you can save the file using the main class name, or you can also save the file using some other name. But if you save the file using some other name, then in that case, the compilation and execution statements will be different. What will be the compilation and execution statements if you save the file with some other name, that I'll show you later. But here we have saved the file using the main class name. That's why the class name is, file name is simple and the extension is .java. Now you have to execute it from the command prompt. So this is my command prompt, and let us assume that I have saved the simple.java file in the desktop directly. And in order to run the program from the desktop, I have to go to that path. So let's go to that path. So now I am in the desktop directory. So there my program simple.java is. So let's compile the program using the statement that I have just shown you in the slide. Now you can see that as my program doesn't contain any errors, so directly this cursor is blinking here after this prompt. So if any error was there in the program, it should have shown after this statement. After you have written this statement and given an enter, then the list of errors will be shown here. Then you have to go back to the program again. You have to correct those errors, save the program, then you have to compile the program again, then you can execute. But as my program doesn't contain any error, so directly it has gone to the next prompt. Now always remember that every time you make any changes in the program, you have to save it, compile it again, then you can execute it or run it. If you want to change a program, then if you are suppose saving the program but you are not compiling it directly, you want to run it as because you have once compiled it, that will not work. So now let's execute or run the program. As I told you, the execution statement is Java space only the file name without the extension. So here you can see hello Java is shown on screen. So this was my desired output. I just wanted to print this hello Java statement on screen, and this is what has been given as output to me. So I can see the hello Java output on screen. That means I have written a correct program and I have successfully compiled and executed the program. So the next slide says the compilation flow of the program. We know that in our program, the file name is simple.java and inside the file name, the Java code is written. After you compile using the Java C compiler, using the statement Java C space file name.java, the byte code will be generated and the byte code will be kept inside a file name whose name is same with the file name that I have given to my source code, and the extension is dot class name. So the byte code that will be generated will be kept in the simple dot class file. So let's see. Here you can see that the simple.java is the file name, is the file that I have created. This is my Java file, and here you can see that the simple.class is the class file where the bytecode is actually there. If you want to open it, you can open it using the notepad, but inside it you will only see symbols which you cannot understand, which we the human beings cannot understand, only the JVM can understand. Now if your program has more than one classes, then for each of the classes a dot class file will be generated, but in my program only one class is there, that is simple class. That's why only one dot class file is generated. If my program contains 5 classes, then bytecode for each of the five classes will be generated with an extension dot class. So this is the compilation flow of the program, and after this bytecode is generated, this bytecode has been taken by JVM in order to execute it and to produce the output hello Java on screen. Next, let's move on to the concept of what happens at runtime. So this is what you can see on screen, and this is what actually happens in the runtime. These are the internal details of the program that I have written. In the previous slides, you have already learned that how to compile and run the first Java program. Here we are going to learn what happens while compiling and running the Java program internally. Now you can see the steps that are being followed at the runtime. The first one is class file. I have already told that the class file contains the bytecode. Now this picture shows you what what actually happens when the JVM takes the class file data and how it actually converts it into the output. The first thing that is after the class file is class loader. Class loader is actually a subsystem of JVM that is used to load class files. So class files are generated after compilations and class loaders are used to load the class files. This class loader is a subsystem of JVM which helps the JVM to load the class files. Then comes the bytecode verifier. This bytecode verifier checks the code fragments if there are any illegal code that can violate access right to the objects. If any illegal code is there which can violate the access right to the objects, then those errors are shown at the time of execution. If those errors are created due to programming or code, you have to go back to the program and correct those errors. Then you have to come back again and you have to compile it and you have to run it. Then you can see the next step is interpreter. Interpreter will actually read the bytecode stream and then it will execute the instructions. And after executing the instructions on the hardware, which is monitor in our case, will be the output will be produced or shown. And the whole thing will be done in the Java runtime environment or JRE. We will discuss JRE in our next lecture in detail. But as of now, you just have the idea that in order to do all these tasks, in order to interpret the bytecode, JVM needs the runtime environment JRE, which is provided by the JDK software. If JRE is not there, output cannot be produced and execution cannot be done. This is the question that I was explaining, that can you save a Java source file by other name than the class name? Yes, obviously, I told you that it is a better approach to save a Java file using the main class name. In that case, the compilation statement will also have the same file name and the execution statement will also have the same file name. But what happens if you save a Java source file by some other name? Let's see. As you can see that the same program has been saved using the name hard.java. So let me show you. Suppose this is the program and I'm saving it using the name hard.java. So I have saved this program using hard.java. Now let's see what should be the difference in compilation and execution statements. Compilation statement says that the syntax should be javac, which is the compiler, space filename.java. This hard or simple, what we have written here, these are the file names. But the execution statement says that the statement should be Java space main class name. Because we know that the execution of a program starts from main class, main method. So we have to write the main class name here. That means the actual syntax of compilation and execution are javac space file name dot java, and this is the compilation statement, and the execution statement is Java space class name. Class name in our case is the main class name. Later, when you will learn access specifier or package, you will learn that this is actually not the main class name. This is actually the public class name. Now, what is the public class name? Why should we execute a program using public class name only? That I'll teach you later. As of now, you just have the idea that the compilation statement is actually javac space filename.java and the execution statement is actually java space class name. Now, if you give different names of the files and the main class, then it may happen sometimes that you may get confused whether here to write the file name or the class name, and here also whether to write the file name or the class name. If you get confused and if you make it reverse, then it will not be compiled and it will not be executed. That's why, to remember it in an easiest way, I told you to write down or to save the file using the main class name. So that here also you have to write down the same thing and here also you have to write down the same thing so that no confusion will be created. The next one, the next question says that can you have multiple classes in a Java source file? Obviously, yes. In a Java source file, you can have innumerable number of classes as per your requirement. As you can see that this t.java is your source code file in which there are three classes, class A, class B, class C. As I told you that how it depends on how many classes you are using in your source code, that number of dot class files will be created. If you are using 100 classes in your source code, then 100 number of dot class files will be created. Here in our program, this inside this t.java file, there are three classes, class A, class B, class C. So after compilation with the Java C compiler, three dot class files have been created with the class names. So the class names are A, B, C. So the dot class files that will be created are A dot class, B dot class, and C dot class. The A dot class file will contain the bytecode of the class A codes. The B dot class file will contain the bytecode of the class B codes, and the C dot class file will contain the bytecode of the codes written inside the C class. Now let's see how to set path in Java. I told you that in order to save a Java program anywhere in your machine, you have to set the path. Just now I have shown you that the simple.java file that I have generated has been saved by me inside the desktop directory. But if you don't set the path in Java, you cannot save in the desktop directory. If you don't set the path, you have to save that Java file inside the bin directory of the JDK folder. The JDK folder is the folder that will be created if you install the JDK software. But I have saved the file in the desktop because in my machine the path is already set. So let's now run how to set the path. There are two ways to set the path. One is temporary and another one is permanent. So let's first understand how to set the path. Suppose I have created the simple.java file and I have created a folder named new inside the C drive. So I am going to the new directory inside the C drive here. Here I have gone to the new directory. Now I am writing the compilation statement. It is showing Java C is not recognized as an internal or external command, operable program or bash file. This error is being shown because your path is not set. In order to set the path temporarily, what you have to do, you have to write set path equal to the whole path of the bin directory. You will find out the bin directory inside the software package or the JDK software package that you have downloaded and installed, which has been installed inside the program files. And the path is where it gets installed normally inside the program files of the C drive. A Java named folder will be created. Inside that folder, this folder will be created with the name JDK and the version. And inside that folder, there will be the directory bin. You have to copy this full path and you have to paste it after this equal to sign. Once you are done, your path is set. Now you can easily compile and run the program. As you can see here, there are no errors. But remember that this is how we can set path temporarily of JDK in Windows. If you close this window and if you open another window, then you have to set the path again. But what if you want to set the path permanently? Let's go to learn that. If you want to set the path permanently for JDK in Windows, you have to go to the My Computer, then right click on it and click on Properties. After clicking on Properties, this window will open. There you go to Advanced System Settings. You click on this link. If you click on this link, the System Properties window will open. There you go to the Advanced tab. There you will see the environment variables button. This After clicking on this environment variables button, the small window of environment variables will be generated. Now there are two types of environment variables, user variables and system variables. What we will do in order to set the path permanently is that we will create a new user variable using this new button. Click on the new button. This new user variable window will be opened. There you write down inside the variable name, write down the name as path, PATH, all in small. Okay, and now inside the value, you have to copy and paste the value of the bin directory. That means this directory, which is there inside the C drive, then this program files, then the Java folder, then the JDK folder with the version name, and then the bin. You have to copy this address, and after copying this address, you have to paste it here in the value field. So we have named the variable as path and we have put the value of the bin directory here. Now click on OK. Then click on this OK. And then click on this OK. So now your path is set. Your path is permanently set and you can now save your file, your .java file anywhere in your machine. And remember that you have to run, you have to compile, you have to execute that .java file from that path only. So thank you for listening to today's lecture. In the next lecture, we will learn about a detailed concept of JDK, JVM and JRE and the detailed architecture of JVM and many more things.